Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Talk More with Matt Morrison. I'm your host, Matt Morrison. We got a lot to talk about here today. I got some special guests coming on here with me. I got supposedly Howland head coach Daniel Bubon coming on in here, and I have Canfield head coach John Cullen coming on sometime in here today. He's chilling out in my background right now, getting some work done. Whenever whenever I decide to bring him in, he'll be joining in. But from what I learned already, great guy already. We've been talking about golf and all that type of stuff. So I can't wait to bring him in. But in the meantime, to fill some time, I'm going to preview the game I'm going to do tonight, which is Badger versus Springfield. Now, Badger just beat Fairport Harding a couple days ago. So tonight, this is for the sectional final. Badger just trying to take one game at a time and, see what happens. Springfield is a little bit more athletic per se than Fairport, better defense. So I've heard that they can defend very well. So, I mean, oh man, I already got a comment in here. I got Norm Yanucci commenting in here. Uh, Norm, great assistant coach for the girls team. Man, this dude, he's always busting me. He's like, Matt, you're gonna come to our games and stuff like that. I'm gonna have to bring him in here one of these days. But what a great assistant coach under Lavelle Turner's there in Badger. And, we'll talk about that too. Badger girls will be playing for the district championship tomorrow. I'll be on that call in Mineral Ridge. They're taking on Western Reserve. I mean, a well coached program there. Steve Miller does a great job for Western Reserve, and they were in a very hard fought game against Lowville the other night as well. But that should be a great matchup Saturday. But tonight, round 2, Badger versus Springfield. We've talked about it a bunch of times. Badger, they just rebound the ball. Defense has got to be key here tonight. I believe Coach Upshire told me that in the last game, they had Fairport had 21 offensive rebounds. So that's something definitely they want to work on. They don't want to give teams too many second chances, especially a team like Springfield who can turn their defense into offense. So you don't want to give them that extra opportunity on defense on offense when their defense should be coming up and playing pretty good here tonight. But it should be a well-battled game. I believe this is going to take 4 quarters for either team to win. So it's going to be a long, I don't want to say frustrating game, but it's going to be a long battle game. Yeah, I can't wait. So it should be very good. Your key guys, definitely Duncan Moy. Duncan coming in here, averaging 30 points a game. So just broke the in-season scoring record that was previously held by Del Blaney. I mentioned that on the show before. And so it should be good here tonight. And I'm actually, to help me out here, I'm going to bring John Cullen in here. John, how are you? I'm going to bring you in here real quick. I know you're a Canfield guy, but you've been around here. You were talking to me in the backstage. You actually spent some time at Springfield and Badger. So based off, both programs, both very strong programs over the year, what'd you take from both of those programs?
Well, I coach at Springfield. Coach Brink does a very good job. He's like, as you just said, he's a very good defensive coach. He runs a great matchup, which a lot of people haven't seen in this area. And how Upshire and the group handle that will have a lot to do with how the game goes. He'll have something planned for Duncan, but that's not going to be easy. I golf in a tournament in West Virginia with Duncan's father, so he and I are good friends, and I tried to get a scrimmage them because we didn't have our football players, so I wanted to scrimmage them, and we didn't get a chance to. But I'm looking forward to trying to catch that game if I can. Jeff, let me see it, but. Moy's got a lot of game, but Springfield does a pretty good job of tending to what he try to take something away from him. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But we graduated 4 seniors last year, so this is a new group for the varsity level, and we'll just see how they can handle it. But they got one player back who's a real nice player, and the rest of the guys have just kind of came on. They've actually had a pretty good season, not as good as Badgers had, but by the same token, they actually played a little stronger schedule than Badger did.
Yes, and we were talking about in the talking about before the show. You were at Badger back when they made their state championship run, and Duncan Moy just surpassed Dale Blaney for the single season scoring record. Now you actually had the opportunity to coach Dale Blaney. If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's probably one of the more embarrassing moments in my career, and probably one of the most disappointing. I was a immature 27-year-old kid, and that was my first head coaching job. And Dale was a freshman, and I didn't pull the trigger and play him as a freshman. And every time he sees me, we have to go through that conversation.
Oh man!
And then I was going to coach him. I would have loved to. We would have had a state championship. I really believe that if I had stayed there. And the next 3 years, all my guys played because I started the 4 guys in the class ahead of him, and he would have fit right in there as he did for John Sawyer. But the bottom line is I got into a little scrape with the superintendent about a hire for an assistant coach, and Brookfield called me and said, if you want to open the job up, you'll come back. So I went back to Brookfield and missed out on coaching Badger, and that was probably the biggest mistake of my entire career. Not because I didn't like Brookfield. I had a great experience there, but Badger, you don't get talent like that all the time. He was the best player ever in this area, and that's including every team at every level.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Dale Blaney definitely had a very storybook career. Obviously going to West Virginia, playing there, and then being drafted by the Lakers. Those Showtime Lakers with Magic and James Worthy and a couple of those other guys.
Don't forget Kareem.
Yeah, Kareem was on there too. Yeah, can't forget about Kareem.
James Worthy, don't forget him.
I said James Worthy. I know about James Worthy, man. But and even their head coach, Pat Riley.
Pat Riley's one of my favorites. He was a great coach, boy.
Absolutely. So, but unfortunately that didn't work out. But he did great in the racing circuit. Sprint car racing. I think he's still the all-time all-star sprint win leader. And then Dave, you had Dave on your team too. Dave raced NASCAR. Now his son Ryan races NASCAR. Yep. So you had some successful guys on your team. I know the Bogans were good too. Bill Bogan.
Mark Dre.
Mark Dre, yeah, they're all in the Badger Hall of Fame.
Gordon Burnett was my leading scorer.
What's that?
Gordy Burnett was my leading scorer that year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it should be an interesting game here tonight. Badger versus Springfield. But Coach, I'll bring you on here a little later. I'll go back into the preview, and hopefully we can get Coach Daniel Boob on here very soon. Maybe a couple minutes we'll give him. But if not, we'll bring you on and we'll spend some time with you more talking about your team. All right.
Okay, I appreciate that. I enjoy listening to it anyways, and I'm just sitting here working. So.
All right, sounds good, John. We'll see you in a little bit.
Okay.
Back here. Hopefully we get the Howland coach in here, but I'm glad John's in here. I can bring him back in at any moment. But this game here tonight. We'll see what happens. Yeah, one game at a time. I've been told that a lot by Coach Lavelle Turns of the girls team, and even Coach Josh Upshire. Just one game at a time. You're gonna make mistakes every game. It doesn't, whether it's the same mistakes you've been making or new mistakes. So it's just how you adjust with those mistakes. I talked about the offensive rebounds. They gotta cut that down a little bit from the other team, and we'll see what happens with that. But that should be a very tough game tonight, and tomorrow for the girls too. I can't wait for that. Calling those games the other day, my voice was completely shot. I came home and I was talking to my girlfriend's grandma here, and my voice was completely shot. I didn't even want to talk. So that's how exciting it is. When your voice is gone, when you're calling a game, it means it's one heck of a game. So that's totally something there. But moving on here, there's a lot of other great games going on. A lot of great tournament games. So be sure to tune into that. But we will. We're gonna take a quick little break here. Hopefully, we get Boobon back in here in a little bit. If not, we'll bring John Cullen back in. But we're gonna take a quick break here on Talk More with Matt Morrison.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
We're back here. Still waiting on Daniel Boobon, but I'm looking at the lineup here for Howland. They've had a pretty good season, hard fought season. I know I've listened to a couple of their games here and there. I haven't had the opportunity to call them, but I know our own Noah Ricks has done a great job on calling them, so I like to listen to them. But they got a lot of tough games in here. Right off the bat, their first game against Poland, was in 2 overtimes in a game that they won by 2. So this is a team that can really go to battle. And, they have a couple tough losses on here, but Cheney is on there. They play a lot of tough teams. Louisville is on there. Tough losses to Fitch and Warren Harding. So, and, Canfield's on here as well. So, I mean, Howland is a very, very well-rounded type of team. They lose a couple and then they win a couple here and there. And the games that they lose, I mean, Warren JFK's on here. Warren JFK, another good team as well. Pretty good, actually. So, and, East, too, a good program there. Coach Whipple does a great job there. Good game against them. So, they just defeated Cuyahoga Falls, too. So, it's gonna be a ride for Howland. If we can get Boobon in here and talk with me here a little bit, he should be popping in here very soon. But during these tournament games, all these coaches coming in here, I appreciate everybody coming in here and talking with me. But it's all about one thing here. When you're here he comes. Here we go. We got Dan Boobon here. I was just talking about you a little bit. Thanks for joining in with me here. Howland, you guys have had a pretty good year. I was just talking about the first game of the year. You started off a 2 overtime win against Poland. Like you guys, as soon as the season starts, your hands are already getting dirty. Like you guys, I see, the teams you played and, even your losses, like losses against Louisville and Canfield. You guys have some good teams that you played on your resume. Like you're like you're winning some good games, but the teams you lose to, like you're like, hey, those are some good teams that you maybe giving a little experience on that, right?
Oh, we've played a good schedule, no
Yeah.
question about it. Since I've been at Howland, we've upgraded our schedule to. I think we play all the good teams in the area. Um, Prepares you for the tournament, prepares you for what you're
Oh
going to
yeah.
see.
Yeah.
You go in knowing you're not going to go 22-0. You're going to play a bunch of good teams. You're going to get in some close games. You're going to win some. You're going to lose some, but it does give you valuable experience.
Yes, most definitely. Now let's talk about the game. You guys play tonight, right? Right.
Saturday, tomorrow.
Saturday. That's right. You play tomorrow, and which should be a pretty good game if you want to talk about that. What your keys are to tomorrow?
I hope it's a pretty good game.
Yeah.
They're really good. They've been one of the best teams in. I'll be in Northeast Ohio in the last 30 years. They're probably the best public school um, we've had. They are good year in and year out. They play their style. They pressure you everywhere. They guard you hard everywhere, and they get shots up. They shoot 30 to 40 3-pointers a game. They've got big kids that can play inside and outside. I mean, they're really really good. We're going to have to play exceptional to be in the game, but that our goal is to be in the game. Be in the game in the third and fourth quarter. Give yourself a chance, but we're going to have to play well. The things that has killed us all year has been our shooting. We've gotten great shots in a lot of games, just not shot a great percentage. Against them tomorrow, we're going to have to get great shots and shoot well, and then see where we're at.
And a team like Menor, and you guys are gonna have to drive up there too. It's a little bit of a travel. So, any anything yet you're gonna do on the ride there? Get your guys thinking a little bit. I know you probably got absolute silence on the bus up there, right?
No, we're laid back and relaxed. They'll put their headphones in. Some of them will sleep. Some of them will sit and joke around. They're high school kids. This is not like we're not going to a funeral. It's
No.
okay. Relax. Get yourself ready. We're gonna leave early. You never on a bus going to Menor. Who knows how long it's gonna take?
Yeah.
There's no fast way to get there. So we'll leave. Hopefully, get there an hour before game time, and then go through our regular routine from there. We've made kind of far trips before. I mean, Louisville's not a short trip.
No.
We honestly, for the most part, we play in the area. I don't love long bus rides, but at least it's not going to be a foot of snow in Menor, so we'll be okay. We'll go. That's the least of my worries. Knock on wood. Hopefully, the bus doesn't break down. We'll get there and we'll play.
So that's the least of your worries. What's on the top of your list of the worries going
Their
in tomorrow?
size, us getting a rebound. I mean, they start 4 6'4s and a 6'5",
Oof.
and all 5 of them are strong, ripped. I mean, they're big, strong kids. They play inside, they play outside, they handle the ball, they rebound. It's a tough team to play. There's a reason they win 18 to 25 games every single year. They're really, really good. But our kids have accepted the challenge. We're going to go play the game. Teams are going to get upset this weekend at every level. So if you don't believe you can do it, then you're not going to be one of the teams that pulls a big upset. So we're going to go in with a belief, play as hard as we can, let it go, and hopefully this will be the game that we shoot the lights out. And we're right there with a chance to win.
A lot of these teams, and we've had some pretty big upsets throughout the course here in the girls too. This is only round 2 with the boys, but we already saw some upsets there. Maplewood beating Lisbon, and even Heartland Christian going down. So we've
happens every year. Teams get upset. This tournament and the NCAA tournament, teams are going to get upset. Just the way it is.
It's a different stage. I feel like teams come in and the past is behind them. It's a new clean slate. Regular season's over. Doesn't matter what your record is. You're in. It's 1-0 every week. Just 1-0 mindset. So these teams come in and you find one guy or one player to get things started, and it's snowball effect. The
That,
ball
that
just keeps
listen.
rolling and gets bigger. Another player comes in. All right, I like what they're doing. I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna do the same thing. So talking about that, what players have you noticed that have done that? Like, hey, stepped up a little bit, and have you seen anybody else follow them?
Well, with our group, it usually starts with Alex Henry.
Yeah.
He's our point guard. He has the ball most of the time. We kind of go as he goes. Now the game, we'll see how Menor plays us. We may need him to score, or we may need him to distribute. We'll feel that out, and he can do either one. Um, Brandon Knoll's been playing better and better and better for us. He's a threat inside and out. Like, he's very important for us because he can match the size that those kids have, which we don't have a lot of kids that can match that. Being 6'4", be able to play inside and outside. They have 5 of those. We really have 1 of those. So we'll need a big game from him. And then our other kids that have played all year, and in some games they score, some games they don't. Just because of the nature of how Menor plays, we're going to need all of them to score some. We don't need all of them to score 20, but if you're a guy that averages 3 or 4 for us, we might need you to get 8 tonight to keep us in this game. So hopefully we can do that.
Mm-hmm. So I try to ask every coach that comes on here this question. All the main thing about basketball is if you're having the main thing is fun. Like if you go out there and have fun, keep the stress down and just keep your head up, a lot of good things are going to happen. Have you done anything to kind of incorporate that fun at all during practices? Any traditions, stuff like that? I've had some comments. I had the East coach say that he liked to play Bob Marley during practice, which kind of got his guys a little irritated, and keep them like they want to play better, so he can change the music. That's what he would do. He would change it when he think they were doing good. And then I just had the girls, the Louisville girls coach on the other day, and she said that like their players were doing scavenger hunts and they were playing duck duck goose before games. Anything like that going on?
I wish I were more progressive
Yeah.
and did stuff like that. I don't know. Our girls coach, he plays a lot of music during his practice. I sat there the other day. He played about 5 songs. I couldn't name one person that was the artist in any of those
Oh,
songs. So I
geez.
felt old. Um, we're more of a routine. We have the same routine at the beginning of our first 20, 25 minutes of practice, the same every day. I almost feel like it makes them comfortable. Like they know the routine, they go into it,
Yeah.
they know what we're gonna do. We get loose, we get our shooting in, and then we go on to what we're gonna do for the day. So yeah, I don't have anything crazy like games or scavenger
Okay.
hunts or even
Okay.
music. I wish I did. Maybe when as I get older, I'll get more into that. But
Okay.
we're more routine based, and then lock into what we're going to do for each specific opponent. And I will say our group has done a great job when we talk about how defensively we want to guard a certain team. They do lock in. And they get on each other like, okay, it's time to lock in now. Let's see what we want to do. Unfortunately for this group we're going to play on Saturday, boy, there's a lot you got to lock into
Yeah.
because they've got threats everywhere. So
Yes.
we
Yes,
could do a
indeed.
great job and they could still score a lot of points on us, unfortunately.
So you talk about routine and coming in and do different like main things every day. Like I really like that. A lot of coaches do that. Like come in, nothing too crazy. Just be like, hey, we want to do this, this, and this. Let's get down to it. And you do it all the time. And these players are so used to that by now, same routine. And sometimes though. Do, it kind of helps maybe to break the routine here and there. Have you ever thought about that? Like, hey, we've been
Yeah.
doing this every day. What's put a little crack into it. Let's break this real quick, or just stick with it.
Every so often we'll change it a little bit. If we're
Yeah.
on a bad streak, we'll change some things
Okay.
just to break something up, just to get into a different mindset.
Yeah.
Um, but I am more routine based. I don't know. I've been teaching for 28 years too,
Yeah.
and I'm more the old school of like the kids in class know what we're gonna do. They know the structure and the routine. Kind of limits craziness, I guess.
Yeah.
So I
Yes.
think a lot of things are generational. My
Yes.
generation, I'm not quite up there with Coach Cullen. He's a little bit ahead of me, but I'm getting up there. I look around and see a lot of coaches younger than me now. So, and I'm sure they were brought up different, and they went to school different, and they practice different than I did. Everything is kind of changes over time. So you stick with what you know, though, for the most part. You stick with who you are. Like I couldn't be a constant yeller all the time like some guys are, but kids kind of kids see through if you're trying to be something you're not. So I do what works for me. I talk to them how I talk to them,
Mhm.
and that's worked for us.
Yes, and a couple more questions for you, and before I send you off here. Going into, we talked about it. Menard's a very good team. A lot of, like you said, a lot of height on their team. Um, what do you got to do coming in here just to be like, hey, they're bigger than you, but they can out physical you and stuff like that. But what are you gonna do to come in here, get your guys ready, and be like, hey, they may be, they may have that advantage, but we have to basically outsmart them. Have a better mindset or a better basketball IQ than them. I've seen that a lot. I've seen big teams come in and the smaller team just has a better IQ. They know what to do at that moment and just be like, hey, let's roll with it. Have you thought about that at all?
Well, we've got a game plan.
Yeah.
Defensively, we're really going to have to help each other because one on one, they've got guys that are just going to just bully us right to the basket, and there's not much we can do about it. So we're going to have multiple guys in the paint to stop these guys. But we've seen teams like this before. We're not the biggest or smallest team in the world, but we know how to help one another. We know how we want to play defense, but our kids are tough. We talked about this before our game the other night. Did we represent our area, and if you watch our games in our league with Fitch and Boardman and Canfield and
Yes.
Harding, those are physical bloodbaths a lot, and we were right in there in all those games. So no one's going to out tough us. Our kids aren't going to back down. We know what we want to do. Just when the other team is bigger and stronger, you just got to be as tough as you can be. There's certain balls they're going to get to that you can't, but you just keep fighting on every play. And then on the other end, it's the tricky thing with Menor is they're not going to let you slow down. Like you have to take the shots that are there. If you try to slow down, they're going to trap you everywhere. You're going to turn the ball over. So we're going to have to play on offense maybe a little faster than we're used to.
Quicker.
Actually, those kids are going to like it. We're going to get a lot of shots up, and we're going to have to. Like you're not going to trick Menor. They've seen everything. They've seen teams try to hold the ball on them. They've seen teams try to slow up, and that actually backfires a lot. Then they end up just really beating the crap out of you. So you got to play the game. You got to let it rip, and you have to outplay them. I know it's not likely. People aren't looking at us versus them and our history and our scores and saying, "Oh, Howland's going to outplay Menor," but it can happen. I've seen it happen. You got to let it go. You're not going to luck into a win.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, Coach, thanks for coming on here and talking with me. I really appreciate it. Hey, good luck tomorrow against Menor. Maybe we bring you on here again in the future, but thank you, Coach, for coming on here, and you have a good day.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, here. Let's bring John Cullen back on to here. All right. So, you're listening there to Coach Boobon, getting ready for Menor. You guys, you got Marlington. Marlington, you were telling me before they're a scrappy team. They can come in and, they'll put a game up. What did he say that kind of clicked in your mind a little bit? Like, hey, like anything at all, like, what we're going to have to do? Like, did you compare it at all or anything like that?
Well, there's no comparison between Marlington and Menor from a standpoint of size.
Yeah.
We played Menor earlier in the year.
Yeah.
We played them, but we played them without our football players, and we were hurting a little bit size-wise because they had 6'4", 6'5" kid that we couldn't. We had to match up with a guard, and he had 18 points and 17 rebounds in the second half. We probably beat him the second half or played him dead even. But the first half, he just went off on us. We couldn't match up with him. But they're a good team, and Coach will have them ready. His guys, he spoke well when he said they're very tough kids, and they are not going to back down to anybody. They won't do it. They got 5 seniors, and they know how to win. And not only do they know how to win, if they're a little bit outmatched, like we were a little bit big for them, and they know how to compete against anybody. So they're not going to go in there and roll up the tents against them. They'll give Menor all they want. Menor just really, really good on their home court. Really good.
Yes, indeed. But let's go into your matchup. You got Marlington. You guys, I mean, you're more prepared than anything, I feel like, going into this game. You got a lot of good teams on your resume. The 2 games I called you against Mooney and against Fitch, unfortunately, you guys lost those games. But I tell you what, some of the best basketball I have seen from you guys in those games. You know, you got Tony Russo. I can't talk more highly about him. The kid, one of the fastest kids I've seen. Like, he can get up and down the court. He can slow things down when he has to, but when he has to turn on the jets, he's like, all right, let's go. And he takes things off. And you got, your big guys, Jake Schneider, who can get a lot of boards and a lot of putbacks as well. And then you got DeLucia as well on there. So, talking about these guys, has anybody else stepped up to the table a little bit more that, you were kind of hoping for and they did, or anything like that?
Yeah, we had a kid the other night play for us, Ben Weaver, another sophomore, sophomore, and he went off. He went off the other night against Poland. He had 4 for 4 from the 3-point arc and 2 rip dunks in traffic. And I told him after the game, I says, listen, you got out of the pumpkin for a while and rode in the carriage. Go home and Google Cinderella, and you'll realize what just happened.
Yeah, that's something to say. What did he say back?
Well, he was a typical kid who they don't read a lot, and they don't know much about that kind of historical type stuff, which I'm a historian. And they laughed. He laughed. I thought it was funny, but now he knows what it means. That he needs to get out of the carriage, out of the pumpkin, which means he was kind of playing a little less than he was capable of throughout the year because he was worried about making mistakes, which all kids go through that process as they're developing. And he really has played well lately. And so that gives us another frontline player, because I label players as players you have to have in there, players you can try, and players you can't have in there in big times. And he went from one of the guys you can try to a guy that has to be in there. So that really helps. And we had 3 of those before. You mentioned one of them. Tony Russo's one of them. Jake Schneider's the other one. And Drew Shapiro.
Yes.
Our little sophomore point guard. He had 13 assists against Cheney, and they were chasing him around with 2 guys the whole game. And not many sophomores could do that in this area.
No. Shapiro, when he has came into the games, I've noticed, great guy coming off for you. And I mean, wow, like he can, him and Russo are kind of comparable. Like they can slow the tempo down and then, bring up the speed when they have to, and they can get it into guys, big guys like Weaver and big guys like Schneider, or they can, kick it out to another option, and, they can shoot guys who can shoot outside a little bit more. But, this season,
those two guys,
yeah.
It's really nice when you can play 2 point guards at one time, because the hardest thing to develop in high school today is because of the way AAU is played, is players that enjoy making other teams pay people better players. And Tony's got almost 90 assists, and Drew's got about 120 assists. So those are both big numbers to put together. And that's one of the reasons why we've been a pretty consistent scoring team. Considering the team people we're playing against, we've had some pretty good numbers that way.
Yeah.
And the kid we didn't mention was my leading scorer, and Dom Cruz. He has been a very, very good 3-point shooter. He had 7 threes against Cheney in that game, and that was a war. And that's one of the teams in our district. So
Cheney is no slouch of a team. They are really good. So 7 threes against Cheney. It's
really athletic.
Yeah. So that's pretty fantastic there.
And we're the only team to beat Ursuline too in the area.
Yeah. I noticed that as well. Ursuline, another tough team. you guys definitely have that, that resume coming in here. I mean, playing teams like Ursuline, and you guys beat Ursuline, by 8 too. And then, it's different though. You come in and play a tough team like Ursuline, and then the next game, you play Mooney. You guys lost to Mooney. Like, do you guys think maybe it came in too hot? Like, oh, we just beat Ursuline, and maybe took a team like Mooney a little lightly? Maybe.
You kind of stumbled onto the reason why we lost that. One of the reasons we
Yeah.
lost the game. Mooney's a good team, and they're very well
Oh
coached.
yeah,
They
Terry
play very hard.
Palermo does a great job over there.
We did come in a little hot because we had 5 guys that had the flu, and they were in fever at home in bed, and they did not
There
play.
you go.
So that didn't help matters any, because you change everybody's roles that much. It's hard to make up for what you normally do in a game. And so I'd like to play them this time of year. It'd be a great game for both teams. But we were right in the game. We had to foul them at the end, and we lost the game. But we had the same amount of field goals, both miserable. So it's because both teams play a lot of defense, and that's why it was a competitive game.
Yes, absolutely. You're going to run into some of those games going on here in the tournament. If you guys come in, get a great win in the next game, I see like you guys just shift over to that next game. Who cares about the win we just did? We need to win this game.
Oh, yeah, we're not worried. I mean, Hubbard came out and spanked us the first quarter, and then we went off on a 27-5 run, had a good second quarter.
There you go.
And consequently, to their credit, they did a good job of coming in and giving us their best punch. And to our kids' job, we did a better job of turning the gas up on defense and putting 31 offensive points up in the fast break.
Yes, I've seen a lot of teams come in and, the first quarter, they just kind of get smacked around. Like, case in point, the game I just called, Western Reserve, Louisville. I think Louisville was up maybe – I think at one point I saw maybe 15-2 at one point in the first quarter. And then that next quarter, it might have been 10-2, something like that, in that range. And then that second quarter, they came streaming back, and they ended up leading by 1 at the half. And then they continued their tough defense in that second half. And, it just takes a little bit to adjust a little, so, sometimes it takes time. Sometimes, a team clicks the whole game, but usually you want to figure out what that other team is doing and like, hey, okay, they're doing this, they're doing that. What's a jump on this and this? And then, you're on their way. Have you had a lot of games like that where you just had to adjust a little bit?
We're dealing with a lot of young kids. There's not much in a senior class. Well, I have one player there, and so they're all learning on the job. It's been, I said, our biggest enemy is going to be time, and we need to improve in terms of maturity quickly. And with the schedule we had with Ursuline, Louisville, and Mentor, and all those kind of people, that kind of forced our maturity along. And so therefore we were able to compete with a lot of really good teams based on the experiences we've had. So you just can never tell how kids are going to show up. And sometimes you have to learn from failure, and how you respond to failure, which is a bad first quarter, determines how you're going to be, if you're going to be able to have a successful team. You can respond by getting nervous and panicking. You're not going to be very good. If you respond by getting down to business and playing the way you're capable of playing, I call it PTRW, playing the right way. You do that, you usually end up on top.
Yes, PTRW. I'm going to keep that in mind. Playing the right way. Wow, that's going to be something to talk about later. I use
those all the time. I have at least 1 or 2 of those up in the pregame every week, and they enjoy trying to figure out what they are. Now they're starting to finish my sentences for me, so they're okay.
Sweet. So, like, going out through this season here, what do you think your goals are? Like, coming in here, you got a great squad, a team that can win a lot of games in this tournament. You guys can make a good run. And what do you think is your main goal?
Our main goal was this year is to and the program was in good hands with Coach McElroy before, but we wanted to play in some very big games this year, and we hadn't won a league championship since he won one in 2013. So that was 8 years ago. And so we tied for the league championship this year. That was one of our biggest goals. All right. Then after that, Now we want to get into a district final and give ourselves a chance to go to the regionals, because we did that 5 times when I was here before, but that hasn't happened since 2000. So our goal is to get in there and win these next 2 games against some quality teams, and then play either Cheney or Alliance to get into the regional, and then see where it goes from there. So we would like to win the sectional and district championships and give ourselves a chance to play over at the Civic Arena.
Yes, yeah, that would be a sight to see, most definitely. So you definitely did your research there. 8 years since the league championship, and you guys tied for that. So check that off. Now, next one. What'd you say? Since 2000, you said. So
That's
that's
the sectional championship.
Okay. So
we don't downgrade that. Any championship you can play for in your lifetime is a big deal.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And so what do you? So we talked about this a little earlier. Focusing. Yeah, it's definitely one game at a time, and you don't want to look too far into the future. Like you said, like Cheney and Alliance, waiting for you on the other end. A team that you faced before, in Cheney. So if they happen to get there, you got your assignments and everything. Like you played them before, kind of what the
Alliance
game.
Also,
yeah, you played Alliance too. So you kind of know each team, like you feel a little comfortable with that. Like, them, you play that, whether you lost or you won, you played them. So you know what to fix against them. I like that when other teams rematch. And you played Marlington as well before. So you got a good look at them now. It's a different stage. That's the only thing, regular season and postseason, other teams can just flip a switch on. Usually when you go in and play a team a second or in the playoffs and you play them in the regular season, you try and go with what you did in the regular season that won you the game, or if you lost it, you try and, fix those mistakes that you made. And if either of those don't work because, different stage, what do you got to do to make that quick adjustment? Like, hey, this isn't working. We got to switch to this real quick.
Well, one thing we do, and especially with young kids, they want instant gratification, whether it's positive or negative. They want to know what's going on. So I stay up real late at night after a game and make 3 different evaluations: a statistical evaluation,
wow,
evaluation of our team grade card, which has 23 different levels we try to achieve during the game. Then I get my biggest one is pluses and minuses, or why we either won the game or what we did to win the game, and what could have cost us the game. And so we want to try to fix those. That determines a lot of our practice plan the next day on fixing the things that held us back in that game. And you want to do what you do best and do it often. And you want to eliminate the things that are keeping you from being a better team. So we've kind of done that all year, and that's kind of worked out for us because they've really improved throughout the year. And we'll have our bad streaks just like anybody else, but they're not continual.
Yeah, and talking about like bad streaks, like they're gonna happen. All the teams have them. Win 3 or 4 in a row. I mean, I was there when Badger went through their little skid, but it's about rebounding from that. Rebounding from that and being like, hey, okay, we were in a skid. Let's snap out of it. Have you noticed that at all? Like you in a little skid, and the next thing you know, somebody comes up and says, all right, I'm sick of this. Have anybody in particular step up like that?
You do. I mean, you have kids that really, they all want to be good players, and they all want to help the team and contribute and that kind of thing. And the thing is, what we have to impress upon them is there's no mistakes unless you don't turn them into lessons. That is a mistake. That's the number one mistake. And so we really try to take ownership of what we did wrong or what we're not doing well enough, and address that. So you're not always going to make your weaknesses your strengths, but you can't let your weaknesses beat you. And that's the thing we've tried to do is get better. And defense had a lot to do with that. We had to get a lot better defensively because we weren't very good, because these guys just hadn't played varsity competition. And JV, yes, the difference between JV and varsity competition is light years in terms of athleticism and intensity and skill levels and that kind of stuff. So they've had to play against some of the best kids in the area and learn on the job, and that's not always easy.
No, absolutely not. And we talked about just a little bit ago, you talked about time, and time is undefeated. Nobody can beat time. It's just how you cope with the time that you have. And time runs out very quick in some of these games. When I'm calling it, next thing you know, 8 minutes is 2 minutes. And I'm like, oh geez, we're already halfway
Mhm.
through the first, and then next thing you know, it's halftime. So what do you guys got to do to control the clock? Not only in this game, but if you win the throughout the whole tournament, what do you guys got to do to control that clock? Keep looking up at that clock or something like that. To like, hey, all right, at this point in the game, let's slow it down. Let's keep pick up the pace. What do you guys got to do to
Well, the main thing you have to do is you have to feel the pulse of the game. If the game's going, maybe we're in a cold streak, we're missing everything, and we're shooting quick shots. Sometimes you just need to slow down and make sure you're getting shots that are better shots than you've been getting. We don't want to just get good shots. We want to get shots we can't miss. And so we try to go inside. We try to get layups. We try to get to the free throw line and shoot some uncontested shots, that kind of thing. But you have to feel the pulse of the game. When it's time to turn a knife and speed it up and really get after them, you do that. When it's time to make them play more defense, because people get tireder on defense than they do on offense,
they
then
do?
we try to do that. That's what we try to do to Ursuline. And at the end of the game, we pulled away from them just because we shot a lot of layups in that game. And consequently, they're a very, very good team, very hard to beat, very well coached.
Yeah.
But if you're playing more defense than offense, nobody's very well coached.
No, no. And talking about Ursuline, like that had to be a war of a game. I bet you guys after that game were completely exhausted, I bet. So, but that game probably prepared you for a lot of future matchups, I tell you that.
I think it
And
prepared both teams, really, because Ursuline
both
hasn't
teams.
lost since then, except they did lose to Spire the other night, but Terrence Pankey didn't play, so that's not Ursuline without him.
Yeah, that is true. But so going on here, I mean Marlington, it's a little bit of a not that far of a drive. About 45 minutes or something like that. During that bus ride, do you guys have like a tradition? Do you guys stay quiet, or do you want to keep them alive? Do you want to?
Well,
You want them?
we used to have that silent trip type
Yeah,
thing. Or sometimes I'll give them something to read on the way over there, whether it be a scouting report or something of that nature. But the thing is, in today's world, you don't have to worry about noise on the bus with social media and with headphones and this and that.
Yeah.
You couldn't even talk to them if you wanted to.
yeah,
That's just what they do. They're all wrapped up in their own world there. There's very little talking on the bus at all. And so we'd like them to spend a little more time thinking about the game. But the
yeah.
main thing is we want them in a relaxed state of mind and concentrating on what we worked on in practice and maybe the scout report. And then after that, they can just enjoy themselves and relax. And we expect them to warm up very hard when we get there. That's a big part of our routine. We don't go through the motions in warm-ups.
No, you want them to break up a little sweat.
Break up a little sweat. Yep.
Yeah.
And work on the fundamentals that they're going to need to transfer into the game. A lot of people practice a lot, especially even in the summertime and when they're on their own and practice. We don't free shoot ever. We don't do that.
No.
We either shoot for fun, we either shoot technique shooting or we shoot for competition shooting. And if you're not doing those two things, you're not going to translate what you've done into game shooting. A lot of people put up a lot of shots in the summertime, not at game speed. That's not going to help you. You're not going to improve very much doing that.
Yes, most definitely. But hey, Coach, we're running out of time here.
Okay.
One more question for you before we send it off here. Have you guys? I talked about the Howland coach about this. If you heard, talking about fun. Now, have you done anything like that just to keep the spirit alive? Any fun traditions you do in practice or anything like that, just to keep the rhythm going for your guys,
Well, first of all, yeah, that's a good question. First of all, what we try to do is, and our practice is the same. We're either working on the technique of how to defend this and how to defend that and how to create, we call it sweeping the corners, where you do the little things to make the big things work. But when it's time to have fun, if competition is not fun for you, go find another sport that maybe not as competitive, because it's very competitive out here. And so that's one of the things we do is try to compete. Then we also try to have fun doing some things off the court. For example, we did some community service, went and loaded up about 60 cars and trucks with food to feed people that were less fortunate around the area. We did that in the wintertime. We also went to the YSU game and went down and ate at the Avalon, did that kind of stuff. And so
good pizza.
We're trying to do some things, team dinners every week where we have games and this and that after dinner and that kind of stuff we play that are very competitive. And we just try to do things other than just be on the court, because I want them to get to know each other just as well as people as they do as players. And the thing is, if you notice, if you go walk down through the corridors of a high school, every kid's got their phone out. They could break their nose, walk into a wall without even looking what's going on. And so we want them really spending time together and getting to know each other and getting to appreciate what everybody has to bring to the table, because it's very important. And like I say, morale, the best way to get good morale on a team and your culture and that kind of thing is to be a great passing team. And we usually average, if we score 24 field goals or 25 field goals, we usually average 18 or 19 assists, which means we help each other score. And that way people don't mind passing the ball because other people are getting them when they're open. To me, that's fun when you get your shots. It's not fun when you don't get any shots. And I don't let them shoot shots they can't make, but I do want them having just as much fun making a good pass as they do making a basket.
Yes, most definitely. But Coach, thanks for coming on here and chatting with me today. I appreciate you, and good luck on your tournament run. We'll possibly maybe bring you back on here in the future. And but thank you so much for coming on here with me.
If you see any Blaney and Moy and all those old Badger guys, make sure you say hello to them for me tonight.
I will. I'll definitely see John Moy tonight because he's an assistant coach. So I'll talk to him about you. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks. I'll talk to you.
All right. Thanks, John.
All right. Bye.
But let's wrap things up here. I want to thank Coach Daniel Boubon and Coach John Cullen coming on here and talking with me today. And I want to push out my good luck to them in their tournament runs. Howland against Menor should be a tough matchup tomorrow, and then even tonight when Canfield takes on Marlington. Just one game at a time, and we'll just see what happens. But hey, we'll see you all here on Monday with another episode of Talk More with Matt Morrison. But please tune in to Running Point coming on here with Anthony Hartwig, and then later on Power Hour with DJ Yoakley and his crew there. But we'll see you later on the network tonight. Hopefully come in and listen to a lot of good games that we have on the network. But we'll see y'all later, everybody. Have a good day.